first in an education setting as well.
Yes. And the third option is another accounting firm who would also provide a paraprofessional for bookkeeping services, and this is Elliott Davis. And their proposal came in at $3,000 per month. So, 3 qualified options, and so do you want to have discussion? Or
Yeah, I will. I will say that I would prefer a company do it rather than someone on their spare time or on their off time, because you worry about priorities, which one's going to take priority. So I'd rather a company do it.
I would agree.
Do you have any insight as to why Cleveland is 2,000 and 2,500 and Elliott Davis is 3,000?
They're a smaller firm. They're a local firm. Typically, the regional firms like Elliott Davis are always going to come in a little bit higher on their services.
Any other questions? Since you're an accountant, do you have any insight into it?
If I may make a recommendation just based on cost and echoing the same concerns as David, I would prefer a firm in the instance of maybe this person couldn't come out one week or whatever. They would have somebody qualified to come out and still be able to help us. So there's always a backup there by using a CPA firm. And also, I think as far as fees are concerned, I would recommend the Cleveland Group. But I think all are qualified across the board.
So, based on the recommendations, I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the Cleveland Group to use for bookkeeping services.
I will make a motion to approve Cleveland Group for bookkeeping services.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Thank you, Heather. All right, so next on the agenda, we have our committee updates. With the changes that we have made in the structure of the board, we recognize a need that we are going to evaluate and restructure all of our committees. We're going to do this so that it is best aligned with what is falls in line with our school as of right now, and to make sure that we are in line with all of our governance. So I'm going to go ahead and give an update on our academics committee. According to our bylaws, we must have 2 board members that are LEAKS certified. Myself, as well as Kevin Burnley, took that certification class this week. We will be taking that certification test next week on Wednesday. In our governance committee, we are looking at a revision of all of our bylaws. We have been closely in touch with our attorneys to go ahead and help us revise those bylaws to make sure, once again, that we are within the guidelines and that we are meeting all of those standards as far as governance. Kevin, would you like to give an update on the operations committee?
We had our operations committee meeting on October the 10th, and in the old business we covered, in the meeting prior, we discussed a lot of policies and we tabled the concussion management policy, but however, since then we added cross country and are adding some sports in the spring as well, so we brought the concussion management policy back up. So our athletic director told us that we've got all the concussion forms that are required by the Georgia High School Association. They must be signed by parents and guardians, and the portfolio must be complete for scholar participation in extracurricular sports. And also, coaches must go through a free online training with the National Federation of State High School Associations. The coach must print certificate at completion of course, and per GHSA, the SAIL athletic director will keep certificates on file. to track coach compliance. Some other old business, we got some updates from Mike Moon, our maintenance supervisor. We had some humidity issues in the building. Fortunately, our Daikin reps, they worked real hard to try to resolve the issue that we were having. And so now our humidity levels are averaging around 49%, which is great. We strive to be less than 60%. On our building and grounds punch list, we've got a couple items that are still lacking from the list. We need closeout documents from True North and a warranty for our roof. In regards to a grass situation that we had, there was some discrepancy about grass being cut along the property line over on Willie Daniel Road or Drive, whatever it is. But Columbia County did decide that it was their responsibility to maintain it. In new business, we had to table a little bit of discussion on a kitchen hood. We were gonna put a hood in so we could get a stove so that way we can prepare some better foods for the kids, get chicken nuggets that might not be so soft and soggy, I guess. We're still waiting on getting a quote on that. It's one of those situations where you have only certain companies that can do it, so it takes a little time sometimes to get a quote from them. So we're working on that. Once we do, I'll give it to Heather for Finance Committee to move forward with it. We also brought up about a storage shed that we need, or we would like to have in the back here next to the other building that we have. Mike Moon got us some prices on that. The quote for a 120 square foot building is $3,100. This includes delivery and setup. That's, not 120 square feet, it was 160 square feet, a 10 by 16. It's an insulated metal roof with masonite siding and OSB flooring. One thing we'll have to do prior to getting a storage building will be we have to redo our zoning to make sure we're in compliance with Columbia County, and that will cost us an additional $100 in order to change the zoning so that Columbia County will be so that we can put the building out here. We're currently zoned for S1. Like I said, we need a zoning variance for the storage shed. Do we need to bring that up to a vote, or are we gonna hold off on that, or? Okay. All right. Also, we talked about possibly putting some gravel down over on the right side of the road when you come in, just past the sign, to add some additional parking spaces. We figured we could add about 28 parking spaces. At the meeting, we only had price on what it would cost for the concrete bumpers and for the rebar that would take to drive those into the ground. And that was going to be around $800 for those materials. This past week, I was able to get some price on gravel. We decided that Crusher Run would be the better option, because if we ever were able to pave that in the future, we would already have the proper base down for asphalt. We wouldn't have to worry about moving the gravel off of it and starting over. That was going to cost about an additional $4,200, so you're looking about $5,000 for the materials on this. We received some updates from Mike Moon. He said that the sinks in the gang restrooms would be modified to foot pedal operated, system, because we're having issues with the sensors operating like they're supposed to. He said most sinks have only one working sensor as of right now, and getting replacement sensors from the reps, we're not been able to get that, and that the company rep could not set the current sensors to have them working properly. He said that the valves for the pedals are about $100 a piece, and he needs 3% in each of the 4 current gang restrooms. And then the last item on the agenda was expansion updates. And so I'm gonna give an overview of what we talked about in the operations committee based on the expansion. The current situation that we have right now is we have a deal with EPR Properties on this current building. It's a $9.7 million note. It's an interest-only loan or note, and we cannot pay anything towards principal either. Right now, our interest rate is 8.5%, and it increases each year. We have our first buyout period available in year 3. It's a 20% buyout, meaning we're gonna have to come up with about an extra $1.9 million on top of the 9.7 to get out of the deal. And if we do not buy out in year 3, then the next option would be year 5, then after that it's year 7, and so on. I want to share a letter, something that I made note of, or excuse me, I did not make note of, sorry. There's a letter dated March 17, 2017 from the State Charter School Commission that was sent to then Chairman Mark Boyd that was not shared with the remaining governing board. It says, Dear Dr. Boyd, on or about March 15, 2017, School for Arts Infused Learning provided the State Charter Schools Commission a revised intended lease for a facility located at 4521 Willie Daniel Drive, Evans, Georgia 30809, as required by paragraph 21 of sales charter contract and State Charter Schools Commission Rule 691-2-06. Sale must obtain written approval from the State Charter Schools Commission Executive Director prior to executing any lease or rental agreement or amendment thereto. The purpose of this approval is not to review the decisions of sales governing board or the propriety thereof, but rather to mitigate actions that may ultimately violate applicable laws or the school's charter contract. State Charter Schools Commission staff reviewed the proposed lease agreement submitted to the State Charter Schools Commission on March 15, 2017. It did not identify that the execution of the proposed agreement would in and of itself violate the sale charter contract, laws, rules, or regulations applicable to the school or standards of public policy. However, please note that 2 aspects of the lease and associated transactional documents will require additional and ongoing diligence by the school's governing board to adhere to the terms of its charter contract. Given the terms of the proposed lease, the school's governing board must be cognizant of the following. Number 1, any action by the landlord under the lease to act on behalf of the school's governing board in fulfilling the school's obligations under its charter contract may cause the school to be in violation of its charter contract. Several provisions of the lease, including but not limited to paragraphs 23 and 29, purport to allow the landlord to cure any default by sale that may arise from its charter contract. Any such action by the landlord would likely violate the prohibitions regarding delegation and assignment in paragraphs 34 and 35 of its charter contract. As a result, it is incumbent upon sales governing board to ensure that its actions and those of its landlord are legally consistent with the school's charter contract. Number 2, the financial terms of the proposed lease and any related purchase of the facility may affect the ability of the school to meet financial performance standards contained in the State Charter Schools Commission's comprehensive performance framework that is incorporated into paragraph 9 of the school's charter contract. To be clear, the school may remain financially viable under the terms of the lease, and it is within the discretion of the school's governing board to determine the financial arrangements it deems most advantageous to the school. However, given the projected enrollment, funding levels, and other financial circumstances known to the State Charter Schools Commission, the sale would need to adjust its expenditures to mitigate the impact of proposed facility cost, and the school may need to seek additional revenue to meet financial performance standards in the comprehensive performance framework. As the financial standards outlined in the comprehensive performance framework represent the expectations that sale must meet or exceed to be eligible to renew its charter contract, any failure of the school to consistently meet those financial performance standards will impact the probability of the school's renewal. If its governing board deems so appropriate, SAIL may execute the proposed lease agreement in the form submitted to State Charter Schools Commission staff. However, SAIL's governing board should remain aware of its responsibility to fulfill the fiduciary duties created by law and its charter contract, and shall remain responsible for all obligations to its students, staff, and the public. Maintaining its fiduciary duty is of particular importance for SAIL's governing board in light of the previously described provisions of the lease. Further, should there be any amendments to the lease agreement, SAIL must provide State Charter Schools Commission staff notice and copies of the proposed amendments and receive State Charter Schools Commission approval prior to the execution. Sincerely, Greg Stevens, Deputy Director. So, with that being said, the reason with the deal that we have now, we're trying to position ourselves for a buyout beginning at year 3. The replacement that we would go for at this time would be a bond issuance. This would give us more favorable terms, would also give us the opportunity to pay towards principal. And once we get into a situation where we have enough equity, we would go for bank financing at that point in time. And other schools have utilized the same pathway with great success. Current options that are being explored at this time, of course, Mr. Prescott just delivered the squeeze-in options that are presented that will most likely be used to for the remainder of the year. There could be, some changes to that. We could go another route, but we've got a lot of things to look through before we make that determination. Other schools have utilized squeeze-in options. We are also looking at portables. Zoning will allow a maximum of 2 years for the use of portables, and we currently have an RFP out for to explore modular buildings. A modular building could be used for a permanent situation. It could also be used temporary as well. In modular buildings, they're constructed to the same codes as stick-built, and the cost with modular compared to stick-built is considerably less, and you have a lot of leeway in the fact that you can put drywall and things in, so it doesn't look like a manufactured home. Basically, it can look. There's a lot of buildings that we've toured that are modular buildings, and until someone tells you that you would have no idea that it was. But this process will take time to overcome some past decisions that we made, but we have to look at all these options and make sure that we're doing what is in the best interest of the school financially.
Thank you for that update, Kevin. Next on the agenda, we have old business. There is no old business right now, so I'm going to move to number 6 on the agenda, which is new business. There have been a lot of questions surrounding our new governance specialist that the State Commission is providing for us. So I would like Lynn Carden to stand up for us. She is standing in the back there, and she is our new governance specialist that is being provided for us by the SCSC to help us with governance as well as compliance. Thank you, Lynn. Next on the agenda, we're going to be looking at a revised public comment policy. All of you have received that in your packet, and I'm going to go ahead and read that new revised policy. The governing board of the SAIL for Arts Infused Learning adopts the following policy effective on the date of adoption by the board. If applicable, once adopted, this policy replaces a previously approved school policy currently in place that provided direction on the items in this policy. All meetings of the School for Arts Infused Learning, SAIL, governing board that are not executive sessions are open to the public. Public comment is welcome during most regularly scheduled board meetings at the appropriate designated time. All public comments must address a matter related to SAIL. The board expects comments to be restricted to items on the meeting agenda. Because the board is restricted in its ability to comment publicly on ongoing matters related to specific personnel or students, individuals wishing to comment on matters related to a staff member, student discipline, or comments that defame or implicate another's privacy rights should be addressed using the school's grievance policy or alternate avenues of communication. Individuals who wish to speak during the designated public comment period must register prior to the meeting. Anyone wishing to make a public comment must be present in person at the meeting. Public comment forms will be available 30 minutes prior to the board meeting in the meeting room. The following information must be provided when signing up to speak: name, address, email address, the agenda item or other topic to be addressed, and the speaker's relationship to the school or the organization being represented. Commenters who have signed up to speak in accordance with these procedures will be recognized by the board chair and may speak for up to 2 minutes. Commenters may not yield time to other individuals. The total time for public comment shall not exceed 30 minutes. The board chair may, at his or her sole discretion, extend a public comment period or have more than one public comment period at any given board meeting. The board will not interact or respond to questions during the time a public comment is being made, as not to interfere with the amount of time a speaker is given. At the end of each public comment, if appropriate, the board chair or school leader will direct the speaker for follow-up. Public comment about pending litigation, pending administrative actions, or matters that are currently under legal review will not receive a response. Public commenters are expected to exhibit appropriate meeting decorum and shall be courteous towards board members and other meeting attendees. The board chair or presiding officer reserves the right to interrupt or terminate a speaker's statements if the individual has exceeded the allotted time, or if the nature of the comments is slanderous, abusive, obscene, repetitive, irrelevant, or not appropriate for the meeting. Individuals who are overly disruptive at any point during the meeting will be ejected from and may not return to the meeting. I would like to make a motion to go ahead and approve this revised public policy.
I motion that we approve the revised public policy.
Any discussion? All in favor? It will be adopted as of today, October 18th, 2018. All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. I do have a list of people who previously signed up to speak, as well as people who recently signed up as of last Friday, so we do have your names on a list. We're going to go ahead and call your name. You may come up for your 2 minutes to speak, and then we will go ahead and move forward with everybody that we have on this list. So the first one I have is Brittany Joyner.
To me, I would say SAIL means family, hope for a better future, faith in a new generation of learners who can make a difference. SAIL is not just a school, but a home. My teachers are more than just teachers to me. They are inspirations. They are another set of parents. Ms. Hancock has always taught me to stand up for what I believe in and make a difference. So if I don't do that, then how am I honoring them, and why am I at SAIL? We are all part of one SAIL family. Our teachers are part of us, part of our family. Ms. Sturkey has always been there when I need her most. She has always loved and supported me. That's unique to SAIL, the fact that we are not a school but a family. Since SAIL is opened, we have been given opportunities that most kids don't get. I've represented SAIL in many places. They give us opportunities to get out into the community. They don't just keep us at school, but let us experience the world. When I look to my teachers, I know that this is more than a job to them. They teach us to be creative, they underline our strengths, they encourage us, they create bonds with us, they support us in everything we do. Dr. Burke brought the Junior Beta Club to Sale. Mr. Drake taught me guitar lessons before school and has taught me how much fun music is and can be. Mr. RJB critiqued a talent performance that I was preparing. Ms. Hancock took me from a 6th grade reading level to a 12th in 1 year. Each of my teachers celebrated every success that we had. Sale is my school. My friends are here. I have had experiences that most kids can only dream of. I'm not going to be afraid of anyone. I'm not going to be afraid of the truth. I've heard that there are threats of expulsion against students who speak out. If I've lost my school, it doesn't matter. I will stand strong because I am part of Sale. Sale is a way of life. Sale is why I love school. Together we are Sale. I would like to know when the parents and scholars will get answers, when we will become more informed about information.
Thank you, Ms. Joyner. Next, I have Max Jaremski. Is that how we say the last name?
Hi, my name is Max Jaremski, and I am a 7th grade student here at Sale. I have some concerns to share with you today. The day I found out I got off the waiting list to get into Sale, I ran around the house like a crazy man. I was very excited to get a fresh start. Here, there's always something interesting and fun going on. It makes me excited to go to school every morning. Sale is a community. We are all friends. I have helped tutor 1st graders and have recently helped some with the coding project. At Sale, I got to incorporate my passion, coding, even though it was outside of the arts that the school's name outlines. These are all the great things that Sale means to me, but I do have some concerns. I am going into 8th grade and I am unsure of my future at Sale. I really love being at Sale and don't want anything to happen to the community I know so well. My question is this: what will happen next as to 5th grade and high school going forward? Thank you.
Next, we have Chance Ruiz. He had to leave. Okay. Alexandria Connell. Jason Lidcombe.
So I guess I have the dubious distinction of calling that, which is going to be kind of tough to do. I'm just going to take this off right now. I had something prepared, but you guys have actually already addressed a lot of what I was going to ask. So I'm going to skip past a lot of that. You say that I'm a parent of a 5th grade student here at Sale. Also a school psychologist and a former classroom teacher. Got 18 years of experience in education. My main concern is, of course, my daughter attends here. Really, despite everything that's gone on, I think a lot of people would agree the environment here has sort of changed. There's been some issue in the past few weeks. As a parent of school psychologist, that would be my concern. In a letter that was written recently by the State Charter School Commission addressing the board, there was a defined action plan that was mentioned in it. So my question would be, what has been, and hopefully is, a defined action plan that would minimize any effects of anything that's going on currently on student performance, academically, and student morale. Those are my main concerns.
Thank you. Next, we have Kathy Schultz.
Here, but I didn't sign up to speak.
Oh, Well, we did receive a form from you, so I apologize. Rick Taylor. Misty Lieber. Melissa Neiman.
Mine have been answered already.
Thank you. Brandy Underwood. Veronica McDonald. Jessica Fryer. David Vernon. Ashley Swigert.
I just want to say thank you first for finally coming and addressing us and telling us what is going on. You know, because that's what we've been wanting. We wanted to know why you made these changes. And unfortunately, it took attorneys. And like you said, you know, we're having to spend all this money now, and you should have just come forward. That's all we wanted. We want to know what's going on at the school. Most of us have full-time jobs. We can't be up here all the time. We don't know unless y'all tell us. So when we get this letter home in our child's folder that they read first, because they want to show us everything that they got from school, everything that they did that day, they want to show us, and they're so excited. But when they see this letter that says their superintendent is no longer here, they're devastated. And I'm in shock because I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared to comfort my child when she's crying. I didn't know what to tell her. So I just thank you for finally coming, and I hope it stays that way.
Thank you. Pavan Pulur.
Chairman Caffey, I'd like to start off by saying thank you for presenting the information earlier as to your commitment to transparency. So in light of that, I just would like to make sure I understood correctly as far as the basis that you've expressed for the dismissal. Those are the things that you all in fact deliberated on, and that is what has been presented here. Those were the actual facts that you all deliberated on in the executive session. That's the main thing that I want to make sure that I clearly understood, is that the facts that you've stated here publicly already are the ones that you expressed or that the board deliberated on for the personnel decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sarah Williams.
Hi, I actually just had one question that I'd appreciate being addressed at some point in the near future. Your steps to finding a new superintendent, one who is qualified in admin, who's qualified, has a great background in education, because I'd love to see someone amazing as superintendent here, and just someone who's qualified, and I'd love to hear what your steps are for finding that person. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Campbell.
He decided not to come.
Holly Joyner.